So now we're going to get to taking the water pump and the thermostat out, and they are buried up above the subframe but below the AC compressor. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the subframe, or the bar, 2 bolts here, 2 bolts on the other side, and that should just hang down a little bit. Should give me a little bit of access. I'm not going to be able to remove this, mostly because I don't want to. And then I'm going to take this off, get this out of the way so I can get my hand up in there and do some work from the backside. So that'll give me some access at least to reach the stuff. And we'll just take hoses out as we need to from there. Okay, getting back up into here. So all I've done so far is I took a pick and got on top of this hose. I'll show you where we're at. So on top of this hose, I'm able to pull that up and release that. And then on the back side, I don't know if you can see it, but we're gonna go right there. That hose, it's got another quick release, and it pulled it up kind of at a 45. And that whole piece fell out of my hand, so I have that. So we're gonna worry about wiggling these free, this hose here and that hose there, and getting them off and out of the way so we can get to more stuff. On the back side over here, all I've done is loosen this one, loosened that one. I still don't have access to this one. So we're gonna work on that. We're gonna take things out as we can reach them. It's that simple. Well, we got problem number 342,000. I did get this off the block relatively easy, I have to say. I don't have that O-ring, so I'm gonna have to order that O-ring. The bigger problem I had was I thought this just pushed on a bracket to hold this in place, but this does not budge off of the pipe itself. It might actually be part of the pipe. I don't know at this point. I did have one of those, which really made it seem like that would just come off easy, but it doesn't. So now this looks like it's in perfect shape, so I'm not going to mess with this. I did replace the hose on the end down here. The other one was pretty toasted, but the new clamp is on. It is aligned in roughly the same orientation it was in before. However, I do need to get a new O-ring. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, so forget everything that I just said because I'm a complete moron. That gasket actually just peels off towards the O-ring side of the end of that pipe, and the new gasket simply slips over it. There is a steel plate that is the same size and shape as that gasket that we are putting on. So, yeah, just being stupid. So what I'm doing here is looking at the thermostat. This is the original metal version of the thermostat. I am putting in a plastic back only. However, what I'm really looking at is the orientation of the hoses as they are connected, because their clocking position is going to matter when you get everything back in the car. It all has to line back up to the block itself, since the thermostat is also bolted into position.
So what I want to do is take you under here. Well, let's see if this is actually leaking again. Maybe, but I'm going to give that more time. All I did was tighten these bolts, probably half of them. I got half a turn, some of them more, just to get a little more snugness out of it, I guess you could say. And it's, well, it didn't drip, really. This, I think, was here from the other day. But no new drips overnight, which is good. So maybe that will work itself out with a simple tightening. Anyway, moving on to the water pump. So this being the E93, I had to take this reinforcement brace bolt out, put a pry bar in here, pry down, because the only way you can get that water pump out is down through this direction where my light is. It has to come out over here. It's the only way that thing gets out of there. And you still have to finagle your way in and around. But make sure you put that in last, because the thermostat, which is right there, this part, that has to go in first. And one of those while you're in there is replace this hose, which routes right back on itself. Well, not that one, sorry, above it. The one above that. It wraps back on itself and goes up to the front top of the head. So you'll never get that clamp off if you don't do it that way. So make sure you replace at least that hose. I'm also replacing the hose. Where is it? Well, come on, show me. There, goes in the side of the block up there. I'm getting a new O-ring for that, as well as the gasket, which goes on the outside. It goes into a steel pipe, and then halfway down it converts into a rubber hose, and that rubber hose goes onto the top of the water pump. Right? Come on, focus. And that shiny part right there is what we're going to connect that hose to. So the time to do that is down here. It is possible to get both of those bolts. What I used was 1/4 inch set, which I downsized. I used the 1/4 inch size, and there's 2 little bolts, these little guys. So because they're small, you can put a 1/4 inch inverted Torx on it. And I had a swivel, an extension, and then I converted that with a step up to a 3/8. What did I do with that? I don't know. Anyway, I converted it to a 3/8 drive. There's a little adapter you can get. You should maybe have one already, I don't know, but they're not difficult to find. Anyway, the adapter went up to some more of these extensions, 3/8 size, and I was able to easily get a ratchet on both of those. Here it is, my little 1/4 inch adapter. So 1/4 inch, 3/8. So adapt that to a larger one. But again, those screws, those little guys, were only in there very lightly, and a 1/4 inch ratchet would easily have gotten those out as well. So either or. So once you get, well, I put that back in because I can now. I don't need to get that out of the way. I'm going to keep the power steering line out of the way for right now, just for some more maneuverability. But all you have to do now, make sure you got your connections back together. I did put the 3 new hardware. Make sure any of the aluminum bolts you take off on these cars, try to put new hardware back on. This water pump came with new hardware. So I got it, not even snug, it's loosely on there right now, and we'll go through and torque those here shortly, but I want to get everything in position first. So make sure you reconnect the 2 connectors, one for the water pump and one for the thermostat, before you bolt everything back together. And what I'm going to do now is just go through and reconnect the hoses that I've taken off, the ones that I can get to right now, barring the one that goes up to the block, back up that way. And we should be calling it about good. Okay guys, we're going to get right into it. This is going to be replacing, oh, come on, get over there. Focus. That. We're going to put that pipe back on. I got the O-ring, I got the gasket, I got the new hose, and we're going to connect it right up to the top above the water pump, to that part right there, up there. All right, that's the goal. Hopefully it'll take a few minutes. Okay, so this is a bit of a pain in the ass, but it is readily doable. First, this is all I'm using, right? Special Torx on the end, inverted Torx, 1/4 inch, okay? But there are people that say you can't get to it. However, as you see, right there is the lower one. And I got really easy, come on, focus, really easy access there. And in the same area, you can see where I'm holding it, right behind the steering. So, sorry about the shakiness, I'm trying to stabilize this. But anyway, come off of here. So now, oh gosh, I wish this was focused better. All right, so anyway, that's, you got access, and it's almost a straight shot. So the little swivel does work, does do the job, and they come out really easy and they go back in pretty easy. So right now it's torqued down, and that fitting is complete. So that's how you can get to those without loosening motor mounts and moving engines and taking manifolds off or whatever you got to do. So anyway, relatively straightforward. It only took about 15 minutes. The harder part was making sure you leave, come here light, leave the thermostat disconnected. See the bolts that go right here, 2 bolts. Leave those bolts out, leave this off so you have access to move the stuff, because the connection where it goes onto the pump right there, the upper one there, that is very tight fit, and you have to move the thermostat in order to get the rubber hose over the fitting on the water pump. So I just have to tighten that and put the steering bushing back on for the hose, tighten down the thermostat, and then we'll add coolant, and I'll show you how to bleed the system. And we are going with real blue BMW. Okay, so recap, power steering line reconnected, snug down. The water pump itself is 3 bolts, 2 down below and 1 up top. Back up there. They are torqued and then 90 degreed. The thermostat bolts, come here. Those 2 bolts, those are snug to tighten back down. All my water connections, I've got 1, 2, 3 that I can access from here. Crimp on the main line back there, and then on the block itself is done, torqued up, as well as the hose that comes off the thermostat going up to the front of the motor. Then the main hose out of the thermostat, this guy, going to the radiator. That is all done. I think we are complete. Okay, so I'm going to start the bleeding process on the car. Take the key. We're going to put the key in the car. I'm not going to start it. Power is on. I'm going to turn on maximum heat on both zones. I'm going to keep it on low. All right. So again, max heat, both zones, low. And low, I'm sure, is just to keep the battery strong enough for this, for the duration, because it's going to take anywhere from 10 to maybe 12, 13 minutes. So now, foot to the floor and hold it for 10 seconds. I'm going to wait to listen for the water pump to turn on. And there it goes. There she goes. She sucked all of that down already. That's pretty cool. And again, I got mine on a trickle charger. Hopefully it'll be enough to keep it going. I know I'm already hurting the battery. Another bunch of air. I'll keep you posted. Alright guys, so I did have an issue when I first started the car after all of the things that I did to it, because I did a bunch of maintenance items on this car, including the spark plugs and all the new coils. One thing, when I first started the car, it was running terrible. I didn't know what was wrong. It still has a little ticking sound. I don't know if you can hear that. Not really a tick, but almost like an air leak. It may just be the valve train noise or the injectors firing. It sounds like maybe the injectors are firing. It's just louder than I'm used to hearing. But right now, I had just taken everything apart again, pulled out all of my coil packs, and put in a little dielectric grease, like the end of a Q-tip amount, inside each one of the coil packs. Then I reinserted them, and I went back and made sure, because I found these are real finicky. These connections right here, where it slides in, are real finicky. If you don't get it all the way up against before you press this cap down, then it could possibly not make a good connection. So go back and make sure, if your car runs like crap when you first do your injectors, or not, your coil packs and spark plugs, go back and redo all of those and make sure you put a little dielectric in there. Not a lot, I'm not talking about a god amount of keeping electric, but dielectric grease, but just enough to make sure that you get a good contact between the spark plug head and the coil pack. And once I went back and made sure every one of these gaps right here, all those gaps are exactly the same all the way across. And I didn't verify that before, and I will say that it looked like, was it number 4 and possibly 5 were not all the way in. They are now, and the car, when I cranked it now, it's idling beautiful. So no concerns, no questions with that. Anyway, just I don't know, not quite a pro, but a pro tip. I think the last thing I'm going to end up doing to this thing is, well, I say last thing, but come on, it's a BMW. There's going to be a lot of things. But on the short list of things that I have to get done, it's going to be the clutch. That'll be probably next spring, summer, once he learns how to drive a car. And then we'll also end up doing the oil pan gasket. So overall, not a terrible job, but we'll put that video together as well. And there it is for now, in all of her beautiful convertible-less, topless glory. It's still pretty dirty, but we got a lot of the dust knocked off of it. Everything on that shelf has now been installed. and even have the little sun, or the windshade. Really happy with that. The two-tone color, I love it. The stick, by far the best thing about it. Love that. Beautiful little car. Very happy. I think my kid will be thrilled once he starts really driving it. Okay, so I'm at work, about 40 miles each way, and what a great car to make the trip in. I'm jealous. I wish I had a car like this. My kid better love this. All in all, wonderful experience with this one. It does need a little bit more, but this will be the last video we do on the BMW for a while. Like I said in the last one, I'm going to do a couple more, or maybe 1 or 2 more videos on this, but next year, and everything will be good to go. So anyway, I got to get back to the Mercedes. I'm getting requests on the Mercedes, so I got to get back to getting that thing up and running again. So that'll be coming here, and probably within the next couple of weeks I'll at least put another video together on the Mercedes. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Derek. This is 4 in Tune.